Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and obviously here on the channel, I covered in depth, the final acts of Tom King's Batman. But we also covered the news when it was announced that they were going to be cutting his run short to 85 issues. It sounded like the new creative team might have been temporary, but once his Batman Catwoman miniseries, which was supposed to start up, I believe, in January, the regular Batman title was going to drop back to a once monthly title. So you would still get a Batman comic twice a month, but one of them would be Tom King's Batman Catwoman. The other one would be what ended up being James Tynion's Batman. But that never happened. We still don't have Batman Catwoman from Tom King. James Tynion's Batman title still comes out twice monthly. And here to talk with me about some of the new information we have is my good friend Yul Carter. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Looking forward to it.
So it's pretty interesting. It feels like DC Comics might be saying a goodbye to Tom King's take on Batman and just moving forward. It appears, according to James Tynion in a recent interview that he did, and it sounds like he thinks, or as far as he knows, that the Batman Catwoman miniseries from Tom King and Clay Mann is going to be Elseworlds now, which I think is a great improvement. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, all right. So if it's Elseworlds, so I'm not the biggest fan of alternate reality history or stories anyway. And so, although there's some really good ones like Superman Red Sun or Batman, Gotham by Gaslight or whatever, I don't really love them all the time. And it also makes me feel like all the effort that I invested in the Tom King series before is a little bit less important, especially because this was like a continuation from his regular story, and he was supposed to
finish up his run.
Right,
he was supposed to go 110 issues.
Yeah, exactly. And all right, so I always thought that the Tynion stuff was going to end, and they were going to probably restart it with a new number 1 or something like that. But I mean, of course, they've got COVID they can blame or whatever. I don't know. I thought DC was like waning on Tom King and how they felt about what he was doing, or at least they were listening to people's discontent. It's kind of weird that, so then they gave him that mini series, and I thought, all right, well, they at least love him enough to keep doing that. And now it's out of continuity. It just makes me feel that, I don't know. It kind of stinks.
Well, it certainly appears that they're embracing what James Tynion has brought. He's obviously, I believe sales are up. He's introduced the designer, a new villain. He's introduced Punchline, a new kind of, I don't want to call it a sidekick, a new Joker associated character. And we know we got Joker War coming up, which got a lot of buzz going on. And it feels like DC said, you know what? James Tynion's doing so well on Batman. Tom King's no longer the best looking gal at the Bat Dance, and we're gonna, kind of just move him off to the side and embrace what Tynion's doing.
Well, DC's been reactionary before in a positive way. I mean, they signed Tom King to an exclusive contract when he was blowing up over at Marvel, kind of working for both companies. There, it seemed like a very prudent move to, sign him and not let him with the competition. But so if they feel that Tynion's doing such a great job and they're going to promote him for real, bravo. And I'm sure, I mean, that's really good because he's been doing a great job. I've enjoyed reading Batman during this time. He's had good artists, so that helps. Going back to whether, so he also said, Tynion said that the Batman Catwoman story wouldn't affect what he's doing. So that kind of blew up into, it feels like it's blown up into a non-continuity thing, maybe a little bit also more than it is, because then Clay Mann did a tweet suggesting that I hadn't heard that this isn't in continuity, basically. And
well,
he
this
showed
is what Tynion said in a recent interview with Newsarama. He said, Joker, he's talking about the Joker War storyline, and they asked him about Batman Catwoman. He said, that's more the purview of Tom King in his book, which is sort of moving outside the bounds of continuity as far as I understand. So I think that's the reason that people So he specifically mentioned continuity in Batman Catwoman being outside at least his Batman's continuity, which is certainly the flagship.
Did you by any chance read Doomsday Clock?
I did. Loved it.
I did too. I thought it got really kind of like dreamy on the last couple issues. And what I ultimately took from it was, hey, this is DC Comics. And in DC Comics, you can have any Superman you want potentially, or any Batman you want. And the Watchmen can be in this universe too. And it's like, I feel like maybe comic books might start gearing towards, hey, if you know your favorite time with Spider-Man was when he wasn't married to Mary Jane, but Gwen Stacy had just died, we could do a story like that for you. But if you're into marriage Spider-Man, or Superman getting married, or Superman before, courting Lois Lane, they could like just isolate these stories. Oh, Dan Jurgens, this is a perfect guy for this. We'll put him on this, or whoever. I would love, what I really wanted to do, I wanted to take a stab at Spider-Man when he was married with Mary Jane and had a kid, Yeah,
obviously we have symbiote Spider-Man over there in Marvel Comics, where Peter David is doing a great job kind of going back in time and filling in some gaps and creating some extra stories when Peter is in the Venom suit, but he doesn't realize it's an alien Venom suit yet. He thinks it's just a new suit he got from Battle World still.
Yeah, there was plenty more advent. Well, they've done this before, and obviously, like X-Men: The Hidden Years, or Batman Tales, or Legends of the Dark Knight. I mean, you just want to tell a story, and you can take it from any time. And I think that's kind of how I'm going to take a look at this Batman Catwoman. It might not be in continuity, but it might be something that exists within continuity, and I'm just not going to place it in the area of the Joker War,
Mm-hmm.
It's like
it's good for people that enjoy Tom King's Batman run. For as much as I didn't like it and people did complain about it, it was still, generally speaking, the best-selling ongoing comic series in the entire industry when he was pulled off and James Tynion took over the reins. So there are people that enjoyed his take on the character, and I think it's important that he gets to finish the Bat-Cat storyline. But I also appreciate that they've moved it out of continuity and they're embracing what James Tynion is doing with the character.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that were really invested in that relationship that got burnt, they felt. I think actually starting it over and having a mini series or maxi series that they're having is a good way to mend that, relationship with those people that enjoyed it also. So that's probably a good move to have done that. And yeah, take it out of continuity, or like I said, later on, it's part of continuity. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you think of the classic Alan Moore Batman stories. I think those were all out of continuity originally.
There used to be a time, people, when there were filler issues, or they would just get someone that doesn't want to work regularly to do something like an annual, and that would be like Alan Moore, like you said, or a special one-shot issue. But he did a lot of stuff that you might not know that he did, like the Black Mercy story, where Superman gets the plant on his chest. That's him. He ended the Superman run with Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. And, Alan Moore was a go-to guy to, fill an issue of Omega Men. What? Omega Men? No one reads Omega Men. Hunt those out. Those are really cool. So those stories could easily... So you're supposed to write these stories so that nothing... All right, so if you're trying to break into comics back in the day and you were writing a script to get in, you have to start a story and then have an event occur, but at the end it gets solved, but nothing changes the character in any way from the very beginning, so that they can just slot it in at any time. And that, if you think about it, is not in continuity also. Then they have such a they don't want you killing Aunt May is what I'm saying. And
yeah, it's kind of weird. Like right now we have Scott Snyder's Justice League ended months ago, and that leads directly into Dark Knight's Death Metal, which started this week. But we've had, I think 6 or 7 issues of Robert Venditti's Justice League. They don't reference any of the stories. Obviously, the end of Justice League, the heroes were taken and put on another planet, and they're about to, to go and fight the world. And but his stories, is this a prequel? Is this a sequel? Where does this actually take place? And they don't even explain it.
No matter
a different take.
And no matter how good the Venditti story is, there is a feeling of it not mattering as much. They never ended the last story, really, at all. We're going to get it. We're getting it now. But we never ended the last story. And now we have these new stories, and it just feels like a Justice League offshoot book. They should, anytime they do something like this, they should just for the time being call it Unlimited. And say, this is Justice League Unlimited for these 20 issues. You just get in on only these 20 issues, and then we'll go back and make them a continuity comic book again.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but there's a few other things. Obviously, we got some preview art of some upcoming issues that I think they're leading into Joker War from James Tynion's Batman. And they kind of like hint that maybe the Batman Catwoman relationship is actually going to finally finish within DC continuity. It's personally a change that I embrace when I'm reading. Like, I wish the characters weren't together, because it's like the dead weight and baggage of having to be reminded of how much I really, really dislike Tom King's Batman. There at the end, it felt like that relationship was just weighing the series down, and you couldn't get a Batman story because it had to all be about the relationship. So I'm hopeful, and it feels like James Tynion is finally going to cut the cord and say Batman's, he's single and on the market again, single and ready to mingle. Yule, what do you think?
Well, I like Bruce Wayne when he uses that, or when he is. I'm more of the kind of guy that thinks it's Batman, and then Bruce Wayne is the alter ego, and or the secret identity, I should say. That's the one that isn't real. And when he's Bruce Wayne, I don't know if I like him being all touchy-feely with people so much. It should be more James Bond, maybe, or maybe not spy style, but he uses that character to get in a situation so that he can legally obtain something, or at least have a reason to be there, rather than Batman breaking and entering all the time. I'd still rather see Batman breaking and entering all the time than Bruce Wayne. So I don't really care about his I guess that's the one thing. It was Batman and Catwoman, and then you also had their secret identities. But so it's kind of like, I guess that's a little different than Batman or Bruce Wayne.
Batman and Catwoman like flirting with each other. They're like adversarial, like a relationship, but there's an attraction there.
Yeah, I do it more like the animated series. It's a sly little yeah. But Judd Winnick did that Catwoman story when they were screwing on the roof, and it was all over after that. They still had their spandex on, and they were going crazy.
Yeah, just I'm glad that they're just letting James Tynion, and he's kind of like realized it's time to like cut some of the connective tissue to the past run. He was very gracious when he took over. He didn't go and crap on what Tom King had did. He did blend the story into the direction that he wanted to go, for the first two issues, and he's taken it off in a new direction. So I am hopeful that that's actually going to come to fruition, and the relationship will just be severed. Maybe just for now. Maybe they'll pick it back up in time, because I do think it is a good relationship, but it's been so spoiled, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I like what Tynion's done. I wouldn't say he crapped over what happened, but he immediately went into a Batman story like you would expect. And, if Tom King's new stuff is out of continuity, really my question is 75-1. Are those in continuity? There's a lot of non-Batman style stuff like, Gotham or whatever her name is from like the first issue, Gotham Girl.
It's one of the weirdest things that's just hanging out there, because in the very last issue, basically they took the thing that kept her from like ruling the universe. She's more powerful than Superman, but if she used up all her power, she would die. He basically cured her of that. So you have this character that's more powerful than Superman sitting in Gotham. I was like, why do you even need Batman anymore? This is the stupidest thing to just plot thread to just be leaving there.
Well, yeah, it was
somewhere else, man. Like go on a journey of discovery, find yourself in a new city.
I think we should Bobby Ewing the Tom King Batman run. It's nice in its own little universe. But as
Mhm.
far as anything that happened that really impacts Batman, I can't even really think of anything other than Alfred dying, which would be retconned in my world also. You know, if that didn't exist, if this storyline didn't happen, if you didn't bore me to death with Bane, how do you do that? That guy like
Well, how do you
squashes
make
fools.
a story arc called City of Bane and he's not the villain?
Exactly. Oh man.
It still confused me.
I fell off on that. I got to admit,
Yeah.
I didn't read all of that at the end, and I don't hate Tom King because like he really has done some stuff I really enjoy. And some of it was in the Batman, but again, it was like an isolated story that felt like it could have been in Legends of the Dark Knight. You know, if your entire run is like little stories like that, it would be better than one long will they or won't they get together story.
Mhm. Yeah, so one of the things I think that James Tynion's done very good, because when you think about what Tom King did with Batman, he introduced almost nothing new. The Batman-Catwoman relationship certainly was a new thing. Really, you only got Gotham Girl, and I think that her brother was Gotham, and he died almost immediately.
Early.
So you have one new character introduced, and that's basically it. But where you have Tynion, like we said, he already introduced the designer, Punchline, and this week we also got a new character called the Underbroker. You know, have you read that one? What did you think? I guess it was last week.
No, oh, you know, I did read that one. It was good. I thought that was a good issue. I got to read it again to really remember.
That Tynion's written since he took over Batman, in my opinion.
Oh, and just like, I don't know how to say his name.
I'm pretty sure it's Tynion. I used to say Tynion.
Yeah, whatever. It's pretty good though. I got a name that gets butchered all the time, so
it's kind of weird. It felt like there was almost like a John Wick Continental aspect to Gotham. Like there's this underground guy that can make stuff happen for you if you're part of like the villain club.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Catwoman had went in there and Punchline was waiting for him. But I kind of thought it was a cool character. I hope they use him a little bit more. Like I kind of like the Continental. Having something like that in Gotham for villains, like a little private concierge to take care of your villainy for you or help you with your villainous endeavors, I think is a cool idea.
Sure thing. At Marvel, they have the guy that like sells the hardware so that you can be a tech character or something, or a villain. What do I want to say about that Batman? Actually, I want to talk about creating characters. That's something that we haven't seen a lot. And one of the reasons is, if you go back to Image founding, people were realizing, like Tom McFarlane, hey, this Venom guy is making us a lot of money, and I'm not seeing any of it. And, now there's a movie these days, and people want to make sure that, they get paid for those things. And one of the best ways to do it is just not create anything. And, I'll put Venom on somebody else that's already in the Marvel Universe. I haven't really done anything different. I just changed Ghost Rider, and I'm not making fun of Donny Cates and saying that. It's a very smart way of being creative, but using the other things that happen within the universe that you've already read. And it's nice to have allusions to previous issues. It's great for back issue sales, and it really excites people also. So does an introduction of a character, or a reintroduction sometimes of a character. But when you do it all the time, it's like, boy, I hope he's getting paid for that. Some people out there, when Pencils Down occurred, I saw some tweets from creators, and they're like, I just want to work on a book. I just want to create. I just want to, I don't care. And it's like, wow, when you feel that, things are on a downturn, you're a little bit more likely maybe to, whore yourself out to make things right. But Tynion, I hope, like I said, Tynion, whatever. I hope he's getting paid for that, because he's doing really good as far as creating characters. Whether or not they're lasting, we'll see. But
it certainly, created interest in the character, and like I said, it feels like DC's embracing it, because Batman Catwoman feels like it's going outside of continuity. It feels like they're about to end that relationship and stuff like that. That'll basically wrap up our talk about Batman and all things that are going in, and I really appreciate the time, Yule.
Yeah, no problem.